What's going on, my friends? Today we are ranking the kettle corn business, and we're going to rank it on an A through F scale and see if I think you can make $50,000 a year alone off kettle corn. That's what I base all my rankings on. If you haven't checked out some of my other ranked videos, check them out in the playlist. This is Mike, the Caesar of concessions, back with another video for you today. All right. Kettle corn is near and dear to my heart. It is how I started in this business. I started with kettle corn and fresh squeezed lemonade, and I absolutely love the kettle corn business. But can you make $50,000 a year just off kettle corn alone? We're going to go over 8 different categories and rank them, and how I rank all the businesses, food businesses that I do. And so let's get right into it. All right. Is kettle corn easy to start in the initial investment? Well, unlike lemonade, kettle corn is more expensive to start. You have to buy, need to buy a proper kettle corn cooker, and the bigger they are to increase batch size, the more expensive the kettle corn machines are. You also need a sifting table so you can sift out the unpopped kernels. Us in the business, we call them old maids. I have no idea why, but that's what they're called. So there it is. So yeah, you need to have a sifting table to sift out the old maids, and you have to have a proper kettle corn cooker to cook large batches for festivals and various events that you're going to do. So the initial investment is quite a bit more than starting lemonade. So for this category, it's going to get a C. I think it's average. It's not the cheapest to start. It's definitely not the most expensive. So for this category, initial investment and ease of startup, kettle corn gets a C. Next category we're going to be ranking, is it scalable? What do I mean by scalable? Can you turn 1/10 in 1 year to 2/3 the next year, and then maybe a trailer or a brick and mortar? I mean, how can we scale up this particular food business? Well, due to the fact, like we talked about in the first rank, initial investment and ease of startup, each time you try to scale it, you have to have a new kettle corn cooker, a new sifting table, etc., etc. So trying to scale this up is more difficult and more expensive than lemonade. So for that category, we're going to give it a C. It's just average. It's not nearly as hard as scaling up other food businesses, but it's definitely not as easy as others, particularly like lemonade. Next, profitability. This is where our friend Kettle Corn shines like a diamond, baby. Check this out. All you need is corn, sugar, and oil. Corn oil, whatever, to make the product, right? And you got less than $1 into it for a 5x8 bag or a 6x12 bag, and you can sell this anywhere from $5 to $8 relatively easily. So from a profitability standpoint, oh man, it definitely gets a B. It's not as high as others, but definitely better than most other food businesses. If you want to see if you can make $50,000 a year or not, continue watching this video. This video is being sponsored by the one and only KettlecornMachine.com. They have the best kettle corn equipment in the market, hands down. I have an A1 sweet machine. Matter of fact, we used this weekend at a July 3rd event that's been in my family for 14 years. That's right. I've had cars last less time than this A1 machine I bought from KettlecornMachine.com 14 years ago. Check out KettlecornMachine.com for the best kettle corn equipment in the market. And I can say that, honestly. Next, seasonality. Well, kettle corn is a different beast. Seasonality, it's great in the early spring. It's great in late summer when the temperatures aren't as hot. It's amazing and comes into its own in the fall, and in the winter it does great as well. The problem kettle corn has is when it gets really hot out there. Now I will say there are exceptions. Our last event that we did, July 3rd, July 4th events, we're just going to call it that, we typically do extremely well with kettle corn, no matter what the temperature is. However, that is not the norm for us during hot weather. During hot weather, kettle corn does not sell very well at all, comparatively speaking, to like our lemonade or shaved ice and even hot dogs. So, with that being said, 3 out of the 4 months out of the year, kettle corn does really well. So for seasonality, kettle corn gets a B. Next, flexibility. What do we mean by flexibility? Flexibility to me means not only can you actually change the dynamic of the product with different flavors and everything like that, but can you ship it? Can you put on store shelves? And the answer to that, all of that, is a resounding yes. Kettle corn, you can actually change the whole dynamic of the product with the flavors. Lemonade, you really can't. You can change the flavors, but at the end of the day, it's lemons, sugar, ice, water. And then you add flavorings to it. Kettle corn is totally different. You can make it a savory kettle corn. You can make it sweet. You can make it standard, traditional, whatever. And you can also pre-pop it and take it anywhere and sell it. You can pop it on site. You can ship it. So for flexibility, kettle corn gets an A. It is absolutely, I think, the best food product for flexibility out there in the marketplace today. Next, competition. It's kind of strange with kettle corn. Many a year ago, like I said, I started 14 years ago, from about 14 years ago to about 8 years ago, it was extremely competitive market. Almost everybody was selling kettle corn, much like lemonade and shaved ice today. Everywhere you went, there's multiple kettle corn vendors, and it was extremely tough to get a foothold in the market with kettle corn. Guess what? Not so much the last couple years. Those businesses a lot of them have went out of business due to so much competition. Right now is actually a great time to get into the kettle corn business. So for competition, it gets a B. Right now is a good time to get into the kettle corn business. Next, product availability. What do I mean by this is, can you pretty much go anywhere and pick up the product really quickly that you need? And it gets a B for this. The only reason it doesn't get an A is because typically for kettle corn, you got to have the bags that you need shipped into you. You can't just go and buy them. Maybe you're close to somewhere that sells them, but by and large, most people have to have their bags shipped into them. But everything else, guys, corn you can get at Sam's Club, sugar, oil. I mean, you can get this stuff at Costco. You can get it at Walmart even if you had to in a pinch. So for product availability, okay, kettle corn gets a B. Now, the most important ranking, I think, is can you make $50,000 a year off kettle corn? Before I get to that, I want to thank all the new members that have become part of my member program, where I give them special videos only for members. It's only $2 a month, and you get mentorship from me one-on-one in our private Discord server. Come on, you can't beat that for $2 a month. So I thank you to all of my new members who have signed up. Now, can you make $50,000 a year off kettle corn? Here's my ranking. It's a C. Yeah, it's a C. It's average, which means it's not as easy as, say, lemonade to make $50,000 a year. It's definitely not as hard as some other food businesses that I'm going to rank coming up. It's average, which means you can do it, but it's a little more difficult than it is with lemonade. But if you combine kettle corn and lemonade, I think you got $100 grand easy, or $90 grand roughly a year easy. just with those two products alone. I mean, but yeah, it gets a C for making $50,000. It's not easy. It's hard work. Standing over a 400-degree kettle when it's already 100 degrees outside is extremely taxing. So it's average. It's definitely harder, but not as hard as some other food businesses to make $50,000 a year. I hope you enjoy these ranked videos. This is Mike, the Caesar of Concessions, out.